So let's talk about the best star power for every single brawler in Brawl Stars in rarity order. Timestamps are going to be below in the description and in the comments. If you want to join a new club that I just made, here is the clan tag. And finally, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll know whenever I post a new guide like this. So let's get into that juicy content. For Shelly, Band-Aid does have some good uses, but I think Shell Shock has a lot more uses and is going to be the better play all the time. The slowdown just lets you catch up to people in the most important situations, like in Gem Grab during Countdown when they're about to score in Brawl Ball, and really just in any 1v1 interaction with other opponents. For Nita, Hyper Bear is extremely good, and you should probably use this all the time. You just get insane DPS with it active. Bear With Me is decent with the new gadget that just came out, but I still think Hyper Bear is better just all the time. For Colt, Magnum Special is better. You won't need a small movement speed increase unless you're actively tracking people down, like in Showdown, but in 3v3 modes, the attacking speed is definitely better. For Bull, Tough Guy is better and a lot more consistent. If you're low on health, what you want is a shield so you can stay alive longer. You don't really want more attacks. And most of the time, you won't even get to take advantage of the reload speed from Berserker. And sometimes it can work out well in Heist if you get on the safe with the boosted reload speed. But if your opponents are playing smart, they're never going to let you take advantage of that. So Tough Guy is just better because it's always going to be effective. For Jessie, Jacky is better on maps where people are going to sometimes be close together. So if there's a lot of grass or just not a lot of open area, you definitely want to run Jacky. And also always run Jacky in Heist because the attacks chain off of the safe onto other people and also off of other people onto the safe. So it's very, very valuable in those situations. But on all other maps where people are going to be more spread out, Energize gets a lot more value. With Brock, run Incendiary always. The area control you get is so much better than a 4th ammo slot, and it's basically named after me at this point, so honestly I'm glad it's as good as it is. For Dynamike, Dynajump is definitely better in all situations, but only at a certain skill level that takes a lot of practice to get to. By the time you can consistently control the directions you're jumping in and get double jumps often in the middle of battle, Dynajump is probably better for you than Big Barrel of Boom. For Bow, Circling Eagle is going to be better obviously for maps with large enough patches of grass where you would be in the grass at the same time as the enemy, but then Snare Bear is going to be better in all of the other maps. For Tick, Well Oiled is better because it just saves a lot more time overall. You save 2 seconds every time you're trying to heal, whereas with automatic reload you only save 1/5 of a second every time you're reloading an ammo. So you have to shoot 10 shots to save the same time as 1 heal, so Well Oiled is really just better overall. For 8-bit, on most 3v3 modes, Boosted Booster is better just to help out your teammates and get them all buffed while not staying super close together. And Extra Life is better on Siege and Heist maps that don't have a lot of cover where you would normally place your booster because it lets you get back into the action immediately and potentially lets your team establish control from that point on. For Ems, Hype is definitely a lot better because the healing is extremely important when you use your super and you're trying to go in for kills, and it's going to save you a lot of the time. Bad Karma is still a really good star power, but Hype is just better in the current meta. For El Primo, Meteor Rush is always better. Boosted Speed lets you catch up to someone no matter what and take them out, or run away if you miscalculated, or get the ball in the goal in Brawl Ball. It's really just super convenient. El Fuego can be good in Heist because the fire from your super deals an extra 4,800 damage to the safe, which can definitely be a game winner in certain cases, but honestly, Meteor Rush is also pretty good in Heist, so I would just stick with Meteor Rush all the time. For Barley, medical use is going to be better most of the time, but if your team comp is pretty tanky and you don't think you'll be getting hit a lot, which I guess basically only happens in Heist if you're only on the safe and there are no teammates nearby, then I guess you can run Extra Noxious for some extra damage on the safe. For Poco, Da Capo is always better all the time, just ridiculously good. No explanation needed. For Rosa, Plant Life is obviously going to be better on maps with a lot of grass, and since Rosa's gadget can now make grass, basically all maps have grass now. So you want to run Plant Life on pretty much all maps, but it is about 50-50 with Thorny Gloves on Siege maps where there isn't a lot of excessive grass to start out with, so that would be Junk Park and Nuts and Bolts. Now for Rico, it's a bit similar to Dynamike in the sense that the super bouncy star power is very high skill because you need to get really good at aiming off walls and instantly calculating where your shots are going to end up if you want the super bouncy star power to be valuable. And if you do have that practice, I would run that star power in modes with a lot of walls, and then just Robo Retreat in all other situations, because that's also a very, very good star power. For Darryl, always run Steel Hoops. You're essentially immune until you end your roll, and by that point, you're already on top of whoever you're targeting, and so they're just gonna die. For Penny, I personally think that Balls of Fire is better in every single situation, every single mode, every single map. I know some people like Last Blast because of Penny's gadget that lets you instantly blow up your turret, but honestly it feels a bit gimmicky to me and can be played around pretty easily, so I'd recommend just sticking with the insane area control that Balls of Fire is going to get you. Now with Carl, for modes where you're gonna have to go and target specific people like Gem Grab during Countdown or Bounty or Siege, I would run Protective Pirouette. And in the other modes, even though Carl honestly really isn't good in either of them, I would say it's about 50-50 on which star power is better there. Now for Jacky, Hardy Hard Hat is so much better in every single case, not even a question at this point. I made a whole video about this if you want to see why this is the case, but don't forget to watch until the end of the video first. Now for Piper, if there's literally a single bush on the map that you can shoot from with a clear shot at your opponents, run ambush. Otherwise, I guess you just go with snappy sniping. Now for Pam, both star powers are pretty even in all the modes, so your choice is going to be very map dependent, and if there's a good spot to place your turret so that your team can get a lot of value at it without your opponents really being able to destroy it easily, and if it's also near the center of the map, then go with Mama's Squeeze, because then your turret will act as a threat to keep your opponents away and keep your team in control. Otherwise, I would just go with Mama's Hug. For Frank, Sponge provides a lot more value because it's always in effect. And with Power Grab, not only do you have to kill someone to get it active, but then a lot of the time it won't even change any interactions because they're going to be stunned by your super anyway when you're attacking them. For Bibi, in Brawl Ball, batting stance is probably better just because you can have a shield while walking a ball towards a goal, which is very useful obviously. But in all other modes, I would use Home Run because you can be faster than everyone else and you can just take the gems or the bolts first most of the time, and you'll also just get a lot of free kills because you can walk right up to your opponent. Now for B, I honestly can't believe I'm saying this, but after all the nerfs to Honeycoat, I think Insta B-Load is better. In Brawl Ball though, I could see both of them being about even since the games are quicker and you might be able to just get a free goal right off the bat with Honeycoat, and that's already half the game right there. For Mortis, I would definitely go with Coiled Snake. Without it, it's hard to get consistent kills and stay alive, and you basically have to have it, otherwise Mortis is completely unviable, I mean, if he wasn't already. Moving on to Terra. So for Brawl Ball, I would run Healing Shade since you're moving up and down the map a lot, so it's easy to get that Healing Shade to stay behind you and just provide an absurd amount of healing that your opponents really can't stop. But for all other modes, you could technically get away with running either star power, but I think Black Portal is just better to apply pressure and really help your team gain control. For Jean, I would use Magic Puffs in all situations, unless you for some reason already have a lot of healing power on your team, in which case I would use Spirit Slap. Both are really good, but Magic Puffs is just a bit better than Spirit Slap. Now for Max, in Brawl Ball, your super is going to win a lot of games, so I would use Supercharge there, but for all other modes, control and damage output is going to be a lot more important, so I would use Run and Gun. For Mr. P, Handle with Care is the best star power in all modes except for Siege, and in Siege you can run Tin Can to act as like a huge tank for the Siege bot to get through, or just a tank for you if you're running up on the Ike turret or if someone tries to charge up on you. But honestly, both star powers are about 50-50 in Siege. Now for Sprout, Photosynthesis is extremely good and you should run it on every map unless there's absolutely no grass even remotely close to the center, because if there is, you basically just have a 30% damage reducing shield for over half the game. So for Spike, Fertilize allows you to be so much more aggressive and pull off more clutch plays in basically every mode, so that star power is definitely better. Curveball is much better after the recent buffs, but definitely not nearly as good as Fertilize. Now for Crow, Extra Toxic is better. Carrion Crow buffs your damage by 27%, but for like less than 50% of the time, since you probably don't even want to be fighting too much at less than half health anyway. But Extra Toxic nerfs opponent's damage by 20% all the time, so it's really just objectively better. Now for Leon, Invisi-Heal is always better. You have a potential for a total of 6,000 healing in 6 seconds, which is just totally busted, actually ridiculous. And then finally for Sandy, Rude Sands is going to be better in most of the maps because it just forces everyone to push back even more than they already would from his super alone, and it really just helps your team to take control. I think Healing Winds is probably a bit better than Rude Sands in Bounty though, since staying alive is a bit more crucial there. But in all other cases, I would go with Rude Sands. And that is going to wrap up the list, guys. I hope you really enjoyed. This is meant to be a very informative guide, so if you learned anything from this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and turned on notifications, because once you have those notifications on, you'll know whenever I post a new video just like this one, and you'll be able to learn so much about Brawl Stars and just become very good at the game by watching these videos. So I really hope you do subscribe and hit the notification bell for your sake and for mine. But that's all for today, guys, so see you later.
Louder.